Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to John and Dylan Online. I am Dylan Gott. I
What?
am speaking. Who is this other guy here?
My name is John. We met in, I'm going to say, I know exactly when it was. We met in the spring of 2009 at the Toronto Yuck Yucks.
Ooh.
You were on Wednesdays with Julia Bruce and that white haired gentleman who then it transpired had been on Wednesdays at Yuck Yucks for over a decade. And
Yeah.
that was my first bleak moment in comedy. I was about just about 3 years in. And that's the first time you open the abyss and you look in and go, oh, I could be one of these faces on the wall.
That man was very nice, and we all
Great
hated
guy.
him just because he was bad at comedy. And we shouldn't have. He was just a
No,
nice man who wasn't that good. And he had a
yeah.
day job, and it affected us none at all. But we were like, we're fucking in our mid 20s, and this is very important to us. Are we taking any risks to be successful? Fuck no.
I mean, we were taking some. The amount of crazy people I spent my mid 20s with has really rubbed off of me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
The
yeah.
amount of ragey alcoholics. Then I'm just, you know what I mean?
Hey, when people ask what's it like to do comedy, and I was like, hey, I've met some of the greatest people in the world and 8 pedophiles.
And speaking of pedophiles, but only of the
Hmm.
human spirit, this week we're talking about Nancy Grace. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this about Nancy Grace. I did 90 minutes of research and I walked away hating her more than I've hated any human being ever in my entire life.
Oh
And
my
she has a
God.
tragic story. She
I,
has a tragic story. Nancy Grace is essentially if Batman, if Bruce Wayne instead of becoming Batman, became the shittiest version of the Joker instantaneously.
that is so well put. Yes, it is truly. So, for those of you that don't know, Nancy Grace, her origin story is she was a young woman with a young family, and then literally exactly what John says, a random act of violence. Her husband gets shot and killed by a man on parole, and then Nancy Grace decides, I'm going to destroy everyone who was convicted of a crime,
Yeah, I'm
or
no,
even
no.
people think might have done a crime.
Are you associated with a crime? So let
No,
me
were you
it'd be
near a crime?
it would be like this. Nancy Grace declares war on this podcast, and her first thing to do is to go after my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like, I hate crime. First thing I better do, go after the victims' families. So the first thing she does is she is a prosecutor in Fulton County, Georgia, and she does a lot of things. Um, Most of them, when examined by ethics boards and a variety of police authorities, are immediately deemed, whoa, don't open that file or we're going to have to go to
Really?
trial again.
Okay, so there's a video about her exploits as a prosecutor because in the and this is the crazy echo of OJ is that in
This
the
is the thing.
after OJ people started doing like court procedurals. I don't know how long the people
No,
court's been around,
it's
but
also this.
Nathan
She,
Grace hosted a show.
she hosted a show with
What was
Johnny
it called?
Cochran, which was because they basically wanted a charismatic counterpoint to the guy that made sure that the double murderer got
Hmm.
innocent. And so they went and got a crusading Southern prosecutor. And I assume it's because in the court TV executive meetings, they were like, this woman will say it. And we want her to say it. Do I need to say the word? You know the word I'm thinking, everyone
Oh
here at the
yeah,
court.
baby.
Like here's the thing. Nancy Grace had one of her cases examined by a federal appeals judge. In the opinion, Judge William H. Pryor Jr., son of Richard Pryor Dillon.
Sure.
Yep, not true. Found that Grace played fast and loose with the core ethical rules in a triple murder, including withholding evidence and allowing a police detective to testify falsely under oath. The murder conviction was nonetheless upheld. So basically,
That's
she's going around.
fucking crazy.
Well, here's the thing: is she's framing guilty people for the majority, but the implication is there's guaranteed some innocent people that got swept up in her crusading web because basically what she does is as soon as she hears you're associated with the case, you're the person that did it, and she's gonna fucking burn down your house. Like, let me put it this way: I wish this woman had gone into cooking. Do you know how good the pizza this fucking woman would make?
Well, all right. So she apparently is undefeated as a prosecutor. Now, I don't know if I believe that
That
necessarily.
means I know what that means. Do you want to know what that means?
Sure.
It means she got a lot of plea bargains. It's not that she did a lot of victories. It means that she negotiated a lot of pleas. So what she did is she portrayed the character of a crusading prosecutor. So you're very scared to go against her. And then you're going to take the plea agreement that she gives you because she'll burn your house down. She's going to fucking go crazy. She has this big ass reputation. You know what I'm saying? So she builds this fucking Trojan horse that no, we want to scare. We go over here, and that's how she gets that. And it's a strategy pioneered by Roy Cohn, the guy who put the
Oh, yeah.
Rosenbergs in jail, Trump's lawyer, and the lawyer for the mob. Basically,
Yeah, John Gotti's lawyer.
and Gotti's lawyer. No, he was never Gotti's lawyer. Are you fucked out of your mind? He was Gambino's lawyer.
Oh, yes, Campinos. So, but Nancy Grace, there's a really funny, there's like a 9 minute long segment about Nancy Grace. Most of the segment, since it was in 1995, is just based around like, this chick is a lawyer. That's fucked.
Oh
And
no, no,
then
no! It's also the tone of it's even better, which is this chick's a lawyer and she yells like a dude, which makes her cool.
and then the guy she's up against says most female lawyers would be embarrassed to act like Nancy Grace does in the courtroom. That's what he says.
Yeah, it's really good. Also, I did not remember the hair being that bad in the 90s.
Dude, her hair, because they're like, she has a perfectly manicured beehive. We'll put this under the video in this. We'll try and do this, but she has a perfectly manicured beehive, and the shit is everywhere. Now look at
I've
us.
never
We have
seen some.
beautiful together locks, so we should be talking about hair.
First of all, we can talk about hair all we want. These both of our haircuts are intentional. They're because of the amount of tea
Yeah,
we're
this
doing.
is we're fucking what do you call it? We're Buddhists, and let's just say that we're not buying into this whole hair on the head
Uh,
thing. It's
by
the
the way,
middle of the back that needs the hair.
Dylan, I forgot to tell you, I'm a Buddhist with a B. Nudist. You can
um,
fucking use that in your fucking sketches. Go ahead, Dylan.
Nancy Grace was one of the hosts. One of her first breakthrough was as the host of Trial Heat.
Trial Heat was initially also co-hosted with Johnny Cochran. He left almost immediately. I assume because, let's be totally honest, Nancy Grace said some real fucked up shit to him. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
he was just
apparently it
gonna
was
be like,
97 she started hosting, and then everyone else is just kind of passing through, it looks like, except for Nancy Grace, who's fucking there, dude. She's
yeah,
fucking.
because you also have to remember this is court TV. This is the rise of cable in the middle to late 90s. So it's all these programs before people have figured out reruns and built up content. So it's like you just have to it's basically cable was podcasts. If you just
Yeah.
were adjacent to a thing, you got to be on cable. Are
Well,
you a news anchor? No, but I one time tried to fight Stone Phillips in a Chili's. You got
but it's
yourself a
also like
fucking
courts, like filming court footage, sorry, is free. So they just film that, and then you have people like Nancy Grace basically call out the lawyers who are making like whatever
Dylan,
a year
Dylan,
she's
you
making
are
too.
not nearly as sad as I am. Let me explain to you what Court TV was doing. You're overthinking it. What Court TV would specifically do after the OJ trial is just pay anything celebrity adjacent, and that's the trial that they would show. So you could.
Oh
That's why
yeah.
we have footage of Jerry Garcia's estate trial, the Menendez brothers, like everything the Menendez brothers did was like microscopically filmed because it wasn't just many trials. Court TV would pick one trial and focus in it like crazy, which is also why we have the rise of true crime. Because if you were a fucking latchkey kid like this cool right here, and your mom got cable when you were fucking 15, you just started watching true crime way too early. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, this is the other funny thing where it's like once again, like you're saying about like cable TV was podcast because like Nancy Grace very clearly is like they're like, "Hey, we need to fill out this cable television. What do we do? Let's get a bunch of people with undiagnosed personality disorders and they'll just say shit." And Nancy Grace was
oh yeah,
the like CNN, that regular lineup was like there was a guy named Jim Cramer who hosted a show named Mad Money where he would basically pretend to be an unhinged guy about stocks.
so it's HLN. So it's very, you're exactly right. It's this weird amalgam show. Yeah. They had Jim Cramer, who was a guy, he was basically
He was on CNN proper. Because
Jim Cramer was never on CNN Money proper. No, 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 no.
I remember watching him on CNN. Anyway, we'll look it up. Someone else, look it up. Producer, one of us. So Jim Cramer and Nancy Grace. Now, Jim Cramer, like I said, Jim Cramer seemed like he was like playing a character to make how boring the things were more interesting, whereas Nancy Grace's POV was everyone accused is guilty, and in some cases, just flat, like once she was good before Twitter, but once Twitter started taking off, her use of hashtags just made real people's pain very funny.
Oh yes, I just to let you know, we are both wrong. He's basically only ever been on CNBC. But your point, your broader point, is made by that, which is it's all just people with either personality disorders or adjacent expertise briefly in a field become the voice of that field. Like Jim Cramer worked like in some hedge funds and was kind of bad because he clearly left the industry after being there on and off for 14 years to go into television, and then he becomes the face of what to buy and sell purely because he failed up into television. And Nancy Grace is like, she was possibly a half corrupt, over prosecutorial asshole with a big personality. And now she's literally the voice of the voiceless, if voiceless meant people she thinks who did the crime but has no evidence of.
Or just like straight up exploitive of people. I mean, her coup de grace, which I assume we'll be talking about later, is the Elizabeth Smart interview. Like that is just fucking
Which one?
wonderful
No, I mean
television.
she did cause two suicides. I'm going to say the coup de grace is the fact that two different people were like, "Well, time to go."
I
Because
was talking about fun,
oh, you're talking about fun.
like when you could watch it and it's funny, not just like you.
Well,
You
I don't
think it's
think.
you were like, where are the results? Who committed suicide after
Yeah,
this?
I'm looking for fucking. Listen. Where I was raised, there's W's and there's L's. You know what I'm saying? You asked me for Nancy Grace's L's, I gave them to you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's
Oh,
two of them.
that was an L to you. All right, I thought I was misreading that. I thought you were just like, yeah, she showed up to the
No, it was an
funeral
L.
flexing over the
I'll
grave.
tell you this. It was an L for Nancy Grace. You know who it was a W for? You and me and the entertainment value of that story.
Ooh, the entertainment.
Double-edged sword.
Okay, so here's some hashtags she comes up with,
Oh fuck!
and
I forgot about the
then we'll
hashtags.
talk about the very sad things.
The Casey Anthony trial, I think, was Nancy Grace's best time because she was so right about that. Like Nancy Grace went fucking insane almost immediately, and was that's the only time she was like so right. And Casey Anthony was also like obviously a sociopath, so she just was like, no,
I mean, the fact that they checked the Internet Explorer because the cops were not their cops were baby boomers, and they didn't think to check Google is fucking hilarious. That's fucking
so
crazy.
it's so
Those
fucking
of you don't
insane.
know, that's how basically Casey Anthony, they were looking for evidence like, okay, well, she was on Google, did she kill the baby? Da 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 da. And it was like, there were no searches on Internet Explorer, so she didn't look it up. And then they later subpoenaed her Google search results, and it was like, how to get rid of a baby. Baby's crying. Can I kill it? No.
Yeah,
How about I do? I'm
yeah.
killing a baby. How do I do that fast? Like,
Are people cool if you kill your baby because you really wanted to bang? I
my
want
name
to
is Elizabeth
bang.
Smart. I'm about to murder a baby. Just wanted you to know that.
Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
I don't know if I'm pretty sure that they just delete Google searches, so I'm going to fully confess to my crime right here, hit enter, and see if someone else has done the exact same thing.
Here's some fucking sick ass. All right. So when horrible people do horrible things, they find a quote from somewhere in the Bible that somehow makes it all okay. Hashtag hot for teacher. And then there's some good ones. Hashtag teacher lap dance. Hashtag pots and tots. This wasn't a time where I'm assuming you've
Hashtags.
listened
I was
to
thinking about
yeah,
this because
hashtags
I was
where the
having a meeting
fucking
with a social media manager, and one of the things they said, they were like, "Yeah, the algorithms are now like what you write is the hashtag. Before you had to hashtag it so the algorithm could identify the search tags. You know what I'm saying? These technologies moved on, and it's so funny of like hashtags. That's gonna be like that's like what VHS tapes were at some point. It's like we're gonna like you know what I mean. You can already see it. Like my mom's a big social media user. She leans heavy on the hashtag. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's an old person thing now is using hashtags, I think.
All right. First of all, you ever call my mom old again? I'm gonna come to your house and I'm
Oh,
gonna
sorry,
fucking beat the shit
young.
out of you. Yeah, exactly.
My mom's young.
Well, all right, that's weird in a different way. I'm gonna say this: nothing makes you more of a parent than see like a hashtag is something that was so perfect to become a symbol of being out of touch because even using it when it was like the most on brand modern thing looked so awkward and weird. Like it's really, I'm really glad it's entering into the like, it's going up there with bell bottoms and what's another
Yeah, it's just
lights
gone.
under lights under cars.
Check this out. And this is the funny thing. Nancy Grace will say, like, she has an interview with Jim Norton and Sam Roberts where she basically is like, listen, I'm trying to help victims get justice. Here's one of the tweets that helps victims get justice. A lot of perfectly normal people murder their children. Hashtag baby and dryer.
It's very good, by the way. She was saying, I'm trying to get victims to get justice. And that was in response to, why did you lie about how the Ultimate Warrior died? And then she said that. I don't actually know if that's true, but that interview was so awkward and weird because literally they are, before she comes on, they're like, we cannot, like Jim Norton's like, she's blocked me on Twitter. Why is she coming here? This is going to be so stupid. And then they are, and I credit to them, they are like somewhat journalistic and they try and be nice and slowly try and talk to her, but she literally acts like two people have not committed suicide after speaking to her. They don't act like she hasn't more than likely interrupted more than one investigation into a case because she's fucking impartial to jury pools and stuff like that. Like she's really negatively affected people's lives and has no idea. Like a bunch of staffers have done tell-alls about Nancy Grace. They're the greatest things to ever read because they're written by people with such rage that there's such levels of personal attack that they're literally like, I want this fucking bitch to sue me. Someone described her as a blank piece of paper when she's not wearing makeup. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that was good.
oh, that's fucking mean.
Well, that was because she wanted, I guess this person wanted to leave early. And then Nancy Grace was like, what are you going to get to a fucking orgy? Which is good, which I stand by and I think is fine.
Yeah, it is weird. You always ask me that when I'm like, hey, can we do the podcast a little bit early? And you're always like, what are you going to go get fucked in a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gangbang, motherfucker?
Which is like Nancy Grace. You can tell when she became a lawyer because that's definitely something an old lawyer would say if someone's like, "Hey, I got my kid's soccer games tonight. I can't work late." Oh, what are you gonna do? Get your dick sucked in the park, you fucking gay lord? Like that's and she was like, "That's how you deal with that. That's how you fucking do it."
Yeah. Wait, deal with what? Like the fact that I'm not seeing my kids? Yeah, you take it out on a subordinate. You don't see your kids. Kids are bad. Kids are only good when they're dead and you can talk about them on television.
Do I want a naked man sliding his booty down an inflatable slide? Then my kids using that slide? I can't even think about it. Pervy PJ party. That was a tweet.
Also, can I just say this? How the fuck is there not a really good punk band called Pervy PJ Party?
This reminds me of Facebook Marketplace, which I've been using a lot and
Oh,
reclaiming
so
Facebook as the true social media after we talked about it. And there's a community group I'm in, and there's been a string of attempted home invasions, but it's Canada, so people can't break, they're not strong enough to break the doors down, so they just give up, which I think is funny. And because I think with your first home invasion, you think that breaking a door down is going to be a lot easier than it is. So they kick it twice and they're like, well, I didn't prepare for this. And then they just
yep.
drive away. So there's like a lot of that. And then one lady posted, there's actually more crime than you think in this neighborhood. And then someone was like, well, what happened to you? It's perfect. And then she goes, some teenagers have been putting dog shit in the fucking ticket machine. So when you pay for a ticket to parking, we stick it in and there's dog and you stick your hand in dog shit.
That's
And then
awful.
that's as bad as a home invasion.
But
Anyway,
I got to tell
I'm the
you,
only one that ha 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 that one. Everyone else was like, that's very serious. I was like, no, it isn't.
I
If
really
anything, I
enjoy.
see that and I'm like, oh, kids are getting
Can you
outside. That's
please
good.
add me to this group? I would like
I
to.
mean, I love every community group.
I
There's
would
like
like to
an
be.
events group in Barrie, Ontario, and the only event happening was Justin Trudeau is a fucking communist. Like that would get a bunch of likes, and then someone would be like, "My band is playing," and everyone's like, "Buddy, read
Fuck
the room.
off.
This isn't about events anymore."
I just want to say this. Can we please start taking over community
We need to
events
just join.
pages
We need to
to
just bulk join
promote our.
community groups and make this whole podcast about breaking down the gossip that happens in this community group.
Oh my God. Find me a community group. We're doing that next. That's our next episode is we're taking a random community group. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this podcast, please email Dylan and John online at gmail.com. If you're in a community group and you can let us in, I got one for us. I have got, we can go to my old apartments community group. It is fucking wild in there. There was a guy being accused of being a meth head. Oh, there's some fucking excellent shit on there.
A lot of condo community groups are really good because it's someone's like, who's cleaning out the garbage trap? Someone keeps coming in there because someone will just be like, I have nothing to do but fuck this fucking community group up.
Well, the thing that's really interesting is that community group that was for my apartment, it went real wild in COVID because like there was about 4 months where no one lived in that apartment building. Like it was me and like 12 other people.
That's fucking sick.
And then a bunch of people moved out and then they just had to take whomever. And then it got fucking nuts. And to make more money, they were just selling it out to like various like movie shoots and stuff like that. My now girlfriend and I were coming back to my apartment, and as we're walking up, there were 4 fire trucks and looked like to be a dead body and a bunch of police everywhere. And I was like, "What the fuck is fucking going on?" Shooting a movie. They were shooting a movie, and I was just like,
You're
"You
like, oh
kidding
my
me?"
God. Oh my God.
Oh my
Keanu
god!
Reeves is trying to kill everyone in my apartment building. That'd
Oh
be sweet. No
yeah, man.
context for it. You just fucking kick the shit out of Keanu Reeves. Anyway, Nancy Grace, who I do believe is the best lawyer ever. She
Yeah, you're
somehow
probably
gets.
right.
I can't look at. I looked it up once again. We're not reading books for this. I'm very sorry. If you, there's someone one day is going to do a very very good breakdown of Nancy Grace's like entire career or something, and we'll be the first people to listen. I have no idea how she got a television show.
I can explain it. I know how.
Sure.
I actually looked this up. The court TV was looking to pair Johnny Cochran with someone, and she appeared a lot on local news in Georgia. Georgia is where CNN is, so she was an aware personality for news producers because she filled news content. So they just found her for Court TV because there was crossover in producers and production. I think the same company. I think it's Time Warner. They got her to be the counterpoint to Johnny Cochran. Johnny Cochran soon left after that. She took over as the solo host, then became the face of Court TV, then was poached by CNN because, again, she's Georgia. She's right there. She's in Atlanta, poached, brought, and basically became the face of HLN and the engine of that show, of that network, which was this weird spin-off of CNN where Glenn Beck also came from. And it was like basically their version, their attempt to do Fox News without having Fox News shows on CNN was they had another network, which was basically, as Dylan said earlier, people with personality disorders, the network.
Okay, here's
But
what we're gonna do. What I
we're
would love to do,
go ahead.
Mister Butthole, is I'm gonna show you the Elizabeth Smart interview because it's good.
Okay. This
So
is
the
real.
preamble of how the Elizabeth Smart interview comes out.
Okay, so wait, which Elizabeth, just to coordinate, which Elizabeth Smart interview are you talking about? Are you talking about the one where she wrongly accuses the guy?
I'm talking about the Elizabeth Smart interview where she has Elizabeth Smart on.
Oh, then we're talking about two separate things. I want to see this.
You've never seen this.
I have not seen this.
It's good. All right,
I know
so
about
here's the
I know.
preamble. Here's the preamble. We
Go
can get in
ahead.
the middle of it because there's a complete transcript of this interview I've looked up. I don't know at what point she Elizabeth Smart comes on the Nancy Grace television show to basically talk about um a bill that her and Senator Orrin Hatch have thought
Oh
up
my God.
that they are going to have tougher and more stringent laws on sexual predators. Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped, and one of the related videos in this from CNN, what the title is, Elizabeth Smart's days consisted of rape. So that's what we're talking about here is someone who's been kidnapped at the age of 14 and then was found years later. Uh, you see my screen now, yes?
I see your screen. Just in context, while Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped, Nancy Grace rose to fame because on Court TV and Larry King Live repeatedly, she claimed that Richard Ricci was the perpetrator of the Elizabeth Smart kidnapping because he had been near her home and vaguely knew her parents. He eventually died in police custody, which
Yes.
Nancy Grace claimed that pointed to his guilt. It was later revealed after much investigation into Ricci that he had literally fuck all to do with anything involved with Elizabeth Smart, and it was a complete and total fucking waste of time. Absolutely because of just bullshit perpetrated by fucking Nancy Grace. So I thought it was that interview on Larry King where she's literally like, no, it was this guy. And Larry King, for the only time, is literally like, well, I've heard some other things actually. Now. So I can't believe Elizabeth Smart showed up.
She's Well, yeah, she did because this is Nancy Grace talked about Elizabeth Smart for years, and then she finally gets to talk to the person who she's exactly made a lot of money off of.
Oh my
And
God.
this is the other thing about Nancy Grace is a lot of people what they would do is they would talk about something while having no information and not go into detail and not basically like Wolf Blitzer would do this a lot where like they talked about Anna Nicole Smith a lot and Anna Nicole Smith's death, but they wouldn't be like this is what happened because you can't say anything that happened because it's CNN. But Nancy Grace will just be like, well, this might have happened. Basically, and she does it in the Jim and Sam interview too. She just lawyers the shit out of people. We listened to David Stern talk to
Mhm.
Jim Rome, and he did the exact same thing. They just start being a lawyer at people, and they're like, I'm not saying it happened. I'm just talking about it. Okay, so here's Nancy
Yeah,
Grace
I'm
and
not
Elizabeth. Keep in
saying
mind, Elizabeth Smart, victim of horrible assaults, just wants to talk about a bill.
just before you hit it, oh, go ahead.
Yep.
I just want to give an example of lawyering in the specific case, just in case anyone's confused. It's like this. I'm not saying that Dylan fucks birds, but I am saying if someone was to be a bird fucker, they'd be named Dylan.
A lot of people with glasses have fucked birds.
I'm just saying I'm not someone that has licked a lizard's pussy, but you can't prove that I have or have not, or have I?
Well, I don't know why you would want to prove you had done that, but yeah.
Lawyered.
When you first went missing, and literally hundreds of people were out looking for you. Now we know you were being held captive not very far away from your home at all. Did you ever hear people calling out your name trying to find you?
There was one time.
At that moment, did you want to scream out, "Here I am, help me"?
I mean, of course, who wouldn't?
How, at that moment, when you knew people were looking for you, your parents were there, they were trying to find you, how did that make you feel?
Is this a sketch?
This is yeah. Once
The
again, she
energies
just wants
of
to
these
talk about a bill.
these energies of these two people is so off-putting. It's so fucking insane.
Well, she was like, "I just want to talk about this bill." She's like, "That's cool." Remember when you were
Elizabeth,
kidnapped?
yeah,
Your
Elizabeth.
freaking family was there the whole time. That must
Yeah.
have sucked anyway.
Yeah, I have a question. Before you go to sleep, are you reminded of the fact of what all that could have happened to you that was bad could happen again to someone you love or even you?
You know, your mom had cancer, and now that type of cancer is completely curable by a pill. Is it bad that she didn't get the pill?
Yeah. Do you blame God or do you just assume you deserved that?
You know, I didn't know how big it was, and it was good to know people were looking for me, but I felt so far away, you know, it didn't really connect at that time, and
Yeah.
you know, and I think that
And you were such a little girl, Elizabeth. I mean, you were just 14 years old.
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to expect a little 14-year-old girl to react the way an adult might imagine they would react under those circumstances. You were afraid, I assume.
I'm gonna say this right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this right now. If they were in the same room, that yeah is preceded by getting up. That's a get up. That's a get up, and we're gonna do something now. Yeah. That yeah is usually that is a end of the dinner. It's a Sunday, and your fucking 16-year-old son has really been a piece of shit. And I got news for you. It's time to fucking scream. You know what I mean? Like it's a real dad energy. Yeah. Like
Kind of comes off like she's like, "Can you explain to the viewers why you're so fucking dumb you didn't save yourself?"
yeah.
Like, that's fucking crazy. And it goes on for
Yeah.
Did your kidnappers tell you they would hurt you or your family if you tried to get away?
I like that because that's like, no, they were like, all right, leave if you want.
Hey, this is basically what that question was. Hey, you know that really traumatic thing that you went through? Can you think about it right now?
I know you want to like take a break from it, but I don't.
You know, they did. And I really am here to support the bill and not to go into what happened to me, what the whole, like, what is in my past because I'm not here to.
What is that footage
give
being shown on the
everyone
other
I'm here to
side?
push this bill through.
Oh, that's footage of her when she was being
gotcha.
captive.
And I want you to push the bill through, and I want people to
There you go. She's like, I just want to talk over the bill, and Nancy's like, yeah, but I don't.
hear your voice. When we take a look back, there is a shot of Elizabeth Smart, and here she is 4 years later, and frankly, it's a miracle that she was ever found.
I
Do you have any comments about how she's forcing this? Look at that look, like she's about to cry. She's gonna.
gotta tell you, I gotta say this right now.
Yeah.
I want Elizabeth Smart should be shown to fighters of, hey, you need to figure out how to make your face look like that when you're walking into the ring. Because when it looks like that, everyone knows bitch about to get fucking lit up. Like that
Yeah,
is.
it's like fucking. Yeah, it's like.
I don't. That's
anger
not
and-
cry. That's like lean across the table and just you know when a woman uses the word cunt towards another woman and they're like and there is no humor in it, like none, like and you're just like, oh fuck, here we go, like one of those. You know what I mean?
You know, a lot of people have seen shots of you wearing a burqa. How did you see out of that thing?
What the fuck? Wait a minute. What's
No, 'cause
going on?
This is Nancy
The
Grace
early
going like,
two-
this fucking victim isn't giving me anything. I want you
Yeah.
to cry.
Hey, Elizabeth Smart, I just want to let you know you were wearing a burqa. Does that mean that you did 9/11?
Comments on holding your friend while they died. Was that set?
Yeah. They say that sometimes because of your post-traumatic stress disorder, wind will actually trigger it because you remember how refreshing the breeze was right before you were kidnapped. Some might say that that means that freedom has been robbed from you forever. Would you agree with that?
You know, I'm really not going to talk about this at this time. I mean, that's something I just don't even look back at, and I really, to be frankly honest, I really don't appreciate you bringing all this up.
I'm sorry, dear. I thought that you would speak out to other
What a
victims, but you
fucking
know what?
cunt.
No, this was good.
I
Go back.
completely understand. A lot of victims.
This is the best line.
Bringing all this up.
I'm sorry, dear. I thought that you would speak out to other victims, but you know what? I completely understand. A lot of victims don't want to talk about it and don't feel like talking about it. Let's talk about the bill. To Senator Hatch. Senator Hatch, you wanted.
Orrin Hatch was on the call the whole time.
I'm gonna say this right now.
Orrin Hatch was just.
I got a couple of things to say. Okay, there's the CNN video, by the way, just featured right there. Elizabeth Smart's days consist of rape. I'm gonna say this right now.
Orrin Hatch
It's
was
the
just watching
wildest
it. It was like,
end of the video I've ever seen in my entire life. Basically, someone was like, "Hey, can you stop just showing?" Like, it's basically Nancy Grace was like, "I know that you wrote in a contract, do not show the color purple, and I am literally colored head to toe in the color purple. My set is purple. The chair is purple. I'm even making you eat purple grapes. But I want to let you know, I actually think this is more of a maroon."
Man, like, can you imagine the equivalent to that is like walking up to someone who's been through that at a party, asking them a bunch of questions about it, and then turning to the third person that was there the whole time, be like, "Hey, Jays suck, huh?" Like, it's like you just talk about some of the worst trauma that someone's been through, and just be like, "Oh, sorry, there was this person here the whole time." Whatever.
I also like that she throws it back at her. Oh, I thought that you'd like to be an example to the other people that were kidnapped and forced to wear burqas, but I guess
dude.
you're very selfish.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it
don't
was
wanna
the
help
selfish hour. I
anybody.
thought it was Nancy Grace's show. I was confused.
It says Nancy Grace, not Elizabeth Smart. Ask the.
Do you know who I know would hate us? Do you know who I know who would fucking hate our? Like, I guarantee Nancy Grace. Jim and Sam was 14 minutes. I give her 30 seconds. I give her literally 30 seconds because here's the thing: is we're both very nice boys that were raised by single moms, but we were both indignant fat kids, and we are gonna fucking have our fucking say. And there is absolutely nothing to be done.
I mean, there's some really good ones. Fucking, she has an interview with 2 Chainz where, and this is a part of that we don't remember, but like Nancy Grace was on the like marijuana makes you evil thing, and she was like talking to 2 Chainz about how there's a lady got caught, or was it a lady or an adult got caught trying to get their 2-year-old to smoke weed so it would go to sleep. And then Two Chains goes, yeah, that's not a weed head, that's a crack head. And it's like, well, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't Two Chains, but that's weed. So I know they smoke weed. So marijuana is evil. Comments, which is like, it must, like I said about Skip Bayless, it must be like, it's either exhausting or so fun to be on Nancy Grace's staff because you're like, what wild shit do I say this week to make people pissed off so they watch? We're like, here I came up with a whole list, Nancy.
I don't think that Nancy is aware. Like, if you look at what she said in response to the Duke lacrosse case, which are, and here's just a quote. Prior to Duke suspending its male lacrosse team, go ahead.
What was the Duke lacrosse case?
The Duke lacrosse case. Oh, I always assume this is a de rigueur thing, but yeah, no, it was the Duke lacrosse team was falsely accused of gang raping a stripper, and basically the DA threw the book at them. They basically like destroyed these kids' careers, and it just was all made up. It did not happen. And is that correct? Yeah, pro prosecutor to do the lacrosse case. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. I had one panic where I was like, wait, did they actually do that? Like, it was everywhere for a while, and then it was all turned around. And Nancy Grace literally said before they were suspended, she sarcastically noted on air, "I'm so glad they didn't miss a lacrosse game over a thing like a gang rape."
Yeah, Nancy Grace is on the case.
She also, after the disbarment of Michael Nifong, my favorite part of the case, the DA gets disbarred. By the way, same DA is one of the cases from the Staircase documentary. What the fuck? He pronounced all three innocent of the charges. The following day, Nancy Grace did not appear on her show because it was assumed she was going to have to give a retraction, and she did not. And her guest host, Jane Velez Mitchell, announced the retraction.
Nancy
and
says,
the innocence,
but she'll be back tomorrow with friggin' new people.
Yeah, Nancy Grace is unable to admit that she's wrong, and she's currently in whatever a narcissist equivalent of a insulin coma is. She'll be back tomorrow to, I assume, make sure someone who didn't have anything to do with the disappearance of a kid commits suicide. Speaking of which, the Melinda Duckett committed suicide after speaking to Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace blamed Melinda Duckett for the disappearance of her son.
Well, her son died. I thought her son had died basically because Miss Melinda Duckett got hammered, and then it's so people, if you can't, it is very dangerous to fall asleep with like a baby on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
They have no neck muscles, so the baby smothered on her chest while she was drunk. And yeah, Nancy. And
I think that was a different one. There's two. I think that's
two. There's definitely two.
That's Tony Annette Medrano is that fucking so sad fucking case. Is the case of the mother rolled over. This is the much worse one where this is just, Melinda Duckett's son was just kidnapped and Nancy Grace just thought she did it.
Oh God. Yes, this is it. Yep. Tony and
I have a question.
Exactly right.
Would you like to know what Nancy Grace said when she found out that Melinda Duckett committed suicide?
Oh yes.
Would you like to know?
Good.
Extremely sad development.
Just not that she moved on, and then she's like talking about whatever else.
Sure,
Grace,
but Dylan
on the show, Tony Annette Medrano was she brought the bottle of vodka onto her set and poured shots to demonstrate how much Medrano had drunk during the night of her son's death. So he's like, she's using the fucking shit she would as a lawyer, like the sensationalist shit on television.
Yeah, she's also doing
the
it
baby
against...
is dead because of vodka, mommy, she said.
I like, it's one of those things where it's like, I hate that fucking vodka mommy, but I fucking hate Nancy Grace is such a fucking pariah of the spirit and doesn't understand that, like, she is not a journalist, but she portrayed herself as a journalist for money. And now people think that's what journalism is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, she does. The Ultimate Warrior thing, I don't understand. For those of you that don't know, the Ultimate Warrior died. And Diamond Dallas Page comes on her show. The Ultimate Warrior did not die because of steroids. I mean, I think that is even kind of not true because it was a heart condition, which can be certainly exacerbated by steroid use.
Yeah, it was a,
So I'm
that's it, but
on
it was a,
Nancy's side.
no, it was a genetic heart condition. The one thing also that was later exposed about pardon me, the Melinda Duckett case is there was a confidential settlement reached between Nancy Grace and the Melinda Duckett family, where a $200,000 trust was set up for Trenton. The settlement was reached a month before a jury trial was set to begin in the case. According to the agreement, if the
Yes.
young boy was found alive before 13, the remaining proceeds of the trust will be administered to a trustee until he turns 18. If he's not found by his 13th birthday or he's not found alive, the funds will be transferred to the National Center for Missing Children, which has happened because Trenton has never been found alive, most likely because Nancy Grace did it to make that woman feel bad.
Mostly because Nancy Grace didn't want him to have the.
I'm literally going to say this. That is a joke.
That's
And we're
another thing she says about the Jim and Sam interview, where she's like, "Well," and then Jim Norton goes, "Well, you did lose these cases," and she's like, "I settled. That's not a loss," which is
yeah, that's exactly why that's exactly to my point of why she has a perfect record. It's the same thing. Like Donald Trump will say, I've never lost a case. And it's like, well, that's not true now. And also it's because he settles all the time.
yeah, of course. This is the funniest thing. Not the funniest thing. This is crazy. Is that after so basically she talks about, she's like, the Ultimate Warrior died of steroids for sure, and everyone's like, no, he didn't, and then she's like, yes, he did, and then she starts listing off every wrestler that has died before 40, yep. And then some of them are like accidents and whatever.
The best one is, what was the third name on the list?
Bret Hart.
Owen Hart.
Yeah. So obviously, and this is wrestling fans, is that this is the straw.
Oh yeah.
There's a 10,000 signatures on a change.org within 24 hours. And
can you imagine what her emails were?
She's responsible for 2 suicides. Everyone's like, whatever, pencils, erasers. She didn't know how Owen Hart died.
Yeah.
Get her.
Oh. She didn't. Yeah, because I got news for you. The people that cared about those 2 suicides are not also in command of at least 3 Twitter sock puppet accounts that will fuck your shit up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How many eggs on Twitter are tweeting about that? Fuck. I mean, I would have loved to see before he was the devil, Vince McMahon versus Nancy Grace on television. That would have been.
Oh my God.
First of all, fucking kill her with his hands.
The amount of narcissism in that room would have actually caused the cameras to turn off.
Or they would have just banged hard.
Oh my God. Do you imagine they would have been just shitting on each other's heads?
They would have just been, he would have started finishing. So, yes.
Ooh. Nancy Grace was on Dancing with the Stars. What a nightmare that show is. She's appeared as herself on Law and Order. She's, of course, also a big fan of the Hollywood Medium, which is insane.
Yes, and then the Medium connects her to her murdered husband, which I didn't watch it, but it must have been fun to watch 2 people lie at the same time.
Oh, yeah, because I guarantee Nancy would have been like...
And he also wants you to know about that HLN's moved me to a new and exciting opportunity, Wednesdays at 8 p.m.
Do you think that Nancy Grace strikes me as someone that thinks she's very like fun and flirty and comes across horrifically. Like she literally will like walk up and be like, my nipples are very bumpy. Do you want to have sexual intercourse with my very beefy pussy?
Yes. Well, she has a husband who apparently is like very, and it's so funny.
Quiet. I get him quiet. Yeah, is exactly. A stepped on broken man who never speaks, or is the worst piece of shit? Is like literally like she's very quiet, and then this absolute dial tone of a shithead, like just like has like, I'll tell you what needs to fucking happen. People need to fucking learn how to fucking work a goddamn day. And he's like, don't you not have a job and your wife is the breadwinner for this entire situation? Yeah, I worked hard for a bit.
He's a investment banker.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So they just sleep on money because it's probably cheaper than the mattress she wants.
Yeah, it's probably. And by the way, their mattress is probably just the 2 photos of the 2 women that committed suicide, and they fuck on each one of their faces each night.
Sleep on top of. They paid the family enough money that they get to sleep on a mattress made of those 2 women's coffins.
How likely do you think it is that Casey Anthony and Nancy Grace had a threesome with Nancy Grace's weird investor banker husband? I'm going to say I'm setting the line at 100%.
No. Oh yeah, and Nancy Grace just watched and smoked. Like sometimes you gotta get away with it.
Yeah, I'm on Xanax right now, Casey.
So here's a fun one. This is directly from Wikipedia. Apologies. This is just this is a place called. Sorry, this is a part called "Allegations Regarding Fiance's Murder." In March
Go ahead.
2006, the New York Observer suggested that her book, Grace had embellished the stories of her college fiance's 1979 murder and the ensuing trial to make it better support her image. Grace has described the tragedy as the impetus for her career as a prosecutor and victims' rights advocate and has publicly referred to the incident. And is often, publicly referred to the incident. Basically, anytime she says something super fucked up, there's also an interview where she recounts the murder of her fiance from 1979 and starts crying.
Wild.
Yeah.
Have you seen what she got wrong though? That's the thing I wanted to just bring up. I didn't realize how fucking much she exaggerated it though.
Yeah, it was a not a random stranger. It was a co-worker named Tommy McCoy. McCoy did not have a prior criminal record because a lot of what she goes on is like, it's these criminals running
It's
around. They could do anything. And it's like, no,
it's
this guy had, yeah.
it's so much worse than that. It was specifically no one spoke for my fiance. This guy got to appeal his case. This guy got to get away with it. He got to delay it. There were all these tactics because the prosecutor just worked with his lawyer. And it's like the guy confessed that night.
Yeah, of course. He was a guy who came to a job site with a gun and did something he couldn't believe he'd done.
Yeah, the jury deliberated for a few hours and got him out. This is so fucking insane.
Which is good.
Yeah,
I think that Nancy Grace
is
I just think it's crazy that there's no like hour-long YouTube video on how Nancy Grace is a big piece of shit.
there's a few like untold, but there isn't like that level of like I didn't realize that about her fiance.
Like of the fucking hour-long people who make like there's that entire genre of YouTube
Sure.
channels that people make like an hour-long YouTube documentary for free that's just clip art.
Yeah, Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer went to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, and portions of the internet are treating it like the fucking Vietnam War with the amount of fucking
Like just
Yeah.
these two tired guys who are always
Yeah.
on the road, and everyone's like, you can see by the way Tom eats that sandwich, he's fucking done with Bert. Like,
Exactly. You're like, no, man, you guys have
you're a
clearly just
20-year-old
not been on
man.
the
Like fucking
yeah.
stop this.
First of all, listen, you've not been on the road for 15 years. The reason why he's eating that sandwich that way is he doesn't know how to sit anywhere because there's a period of his time of his life. He was paid in food and he just I gotta get it in me. But now he's trying to be really thin, so he doesn't have any good relationships with food, which is why he's just staring at it. You know what I mean? And then Bert's just trying not to drink all the alcohol. They're both on testosterone at 50. Life's insane.
I mean, it must be nuts to like there. I mean, there is something where it's like, can you believe I'm a YouTuber for a living? And then based on what they do, that should be banned or not. That should be something that should be okay with the government. Like if the government sees you're making a living off of rewatching Two Bears One Cave and just imagining it that the guys kind of hate each other, then they should be like, all right, you got to go to school.
Yeah, I think
Like,
we got to put.
you're banned from this.
It's like, listen,
And I hate
you're
myself because I watch it. And I'm like, ooh, maybe because I love gossip.
That's the thing is the problem is that I just can't believe how many people get into it. It's also that thing of I know a lot of it isn't true. Like it's that thing of like I know that I have the same relationship I have with wrestling where it's like I'm still upset. You know that it's recently come out that Triple H wrote a majority of CM Punk's pipe bomb, and it's like, yeah, of course he did.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just the best where you're like, of course he did. None of it's real. No, he's not an outsider. No one has that many 2008 bartender tattoos and is an outsider.
If you're if you're new, if you just listened to this podcast and not the wrestler review, then John was the person who started that change.org once Nancy Grace got Owen Hart's death wrong. That was, by the way, that was the thing that made people angry. But it was mostly she didn't fucking know how Owen Hart died.
Oh yeah, people were.
died.
Because the thing with wrestling is wrestling fans have so few things where we're totally in the right, and you're totally in the right if you're outraged about Owen Hart's death, and there's no opportunity to be like that in any other facet of wrestling.
See, if I was working on the Nancy Grace staff, there's no way I wouldn't have been like, list Katie Vick and The Undertaker in that list. Let's have some fun.
I got news for you. Let me tell you what would have saved Nancy Grace's career is if a very smart producer went, not only are we talking about the Ultimate Warrior, if you just looked down the camera and went, and tomorrow we're talking about Katie Vick, let me tell you this right now. Every wrestling fan went, all is forgiven, Nancy. I'll see you tomorrow night.
And Katie Vick was a bad booking decision. Well, fine. Some of them, pencils, erasers. It's interesting though. Katie Vick. Nancy Grace is a lot like
Katie Vick,
like
a dead body.
no, I was going to say the true crime aspect of society is blown up so much to full documentaries that do people like Nancy Grace still exist? Like
I think that they
where it's just
do on
cool
a
reactions and like basically like it's almost like an extension of talk radio where it's like she's saying the things over and over again. Like she has basically a thesis statement that she says over and over again and then invites guests to come on and either yell at her or agree with her.
yeah. I also think that there's a new version of Nancy Grace, which is those true crime podcasts that are pouring over specific details, that are going out and trying to reinvestigate cases, that are, citizen detectives getting in the way of investigations. That's the new version of, in that time was through cable television in an era. It was all voyeuristic fantasy. You're hearing about this from a person and none of it's actually involved. To your point, they're talking about Anna Nicole Smith, but no one's actually like they're talking around it, they're talking about it, and it's a thing that's just energy and content for. We're now in a place where people are like, well, fuck this, I'm going to get a GoPro. I'm going to find Elizabeth Smart. And then they end up getting shot because they, for some reason, think Elizabeth Smart's just at a hunting lodge. Or, you know what I mean? Like that, we are all Nancy Grace now.
Yeah, of course. Nancy Grace has two podcasts. One is called Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, and the other one's called Crime Alert with Nancy Grace. And one of my favorite subtle things is Behind the Bastards, which is like a podcast. It's like a biography podcast run by a guy. It's very well researched, but it's run by a guy who's like a socialist, Marxist, anarchist guy. And
Yeah.
since it's on iHeart Radio, Nancy Grace's podcast is advertised on it a lot, which is very funny.
It is very funny. I don't believe that they are on iHeartRadio anymore. I've noticed that, and I guarantee it's something to do with that. I guarantee
I
it's.
just heard their last episode
Oh, is that?
on Robert E. Lee, and it had a Nancy Grace podcast advertisement in it. Because
I would just like to say
we
this.
don't do this, but like you can sign up for services that will just automatically put in ads, and you have no fucking idea what the ad is.
I know.
And we don't do that, not because of any morals, just because we're fucking dumb.
Not enough people listen to us for those people to take our calls. Second of all, I listen to some real fucked up shit on the internet and get up into some wackiness. And I was listening to a bunch of podcasts which were Noam Chomsky lectures, and one of them had that service, and it was sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee, and that's the best thing that I've ever been a part of. I've never listened to something and been like, this is really fun. This is really fun. This is a treat for me, because not only does Noam Chomsky, I guarantee, hate that. Not only, I guarantee Noam Chomsky doesn't like coffee. And the fact that it's black, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, Black Rifle Coffee is, of course, the alt-right coffee.
I don't know.
Like, I like
Yeah, I
the
think it's
idea of very right-wing coffee, where it's like, not only do we do the process of getting the coffee from the earth, we salt a bunch of the earth, too, just because we hate the fucking earth.
Yeah, this is coffee from a place that does not grow that bean. So you know what that means.
We dig for
Not
oil in
good.
places we know don't have oil. We just want to fuck the earth up.
I'm going to say this right now. Coffee, it's a thing that you need left-wingness to grow it. You know what I mean? I don't want right-wing efficiency coffee. You know what I mean? I want some fucking
Really?
weird, like an open, no, a right-wing person wouldn't have the open shirt required for proper coffee, Dylan.
No, like, I want to see a guy in a full suit where if he gets something on the suit, he completely changes the entire suit.
Yeah, the kind of guy that if someone not even scuffs his shoes but gets too close to his shoes, I got to change.
All right, John, that's it for Nancy Grace.
That is.
Right now, of course, she's doing her own podcast. One of the crime alerts is just anyone who's attractive who may have committed a crime. She's on the case.
Yeah.
Let's keep this going. Let's talk about someone else who is kind of a shithead. Let's talk about fucking, who can you think of?
Kathy Griffin. Yeah, Kathy.
Let's talk about, okay. No, let's talk about fucking, you wanted to do this for a while ago. Let's talk about Bill Maher.
Yeah, let's talk about Bill Maher.
So
Okay,
you
wait.
listen to
Okay,
Club Random. I only find Bill Maher very annoying. I remember one time we were going to do it, but I was like, I know to do this, I'll have to watch Religulous, and I didn't. And I was like, I just don't have the
do not watch Religulous. Dylan, look at me. Don't do it. Second of all, what we were going to specifically do is Club Random because I can't. Club Random actually got so insane that it kept going that I had to stop because it's like, oh, this is just real. Like it was one of those things where it was like, I am now part of the problem. This is so bad. Bill Maher is fascinating. Bill Maher is the best. Bill Maher is the best because I've never seen. He's someone that just steals other people's personalities, the career.
I mean, I want to know more about this, and I want to know more about it next week. Thank you guys so much for
I
listening.
love you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, dishes, whatever. Bye bye.
Have a great day. Maybe you're like me. You just put on a podcast, put your phone inside. That's a little time for your brain to have a break. And I hope you have a break. See you later. Dylan, I love you. I love everyone who's listening. See you in hell, fuckos.
Shit, fuck, pussy, pussy, pussy.